What is up, traders? My name is Malik Popel. This is Firewater Trading. Today I'm going to show you the exact step in your process that is destroying the mathematical probabilities that are in your favor once you develop your edge. Let's dive into it. This is going to be a juicy one, guys. I promise you that. In order to create an edge in the market, there's basically three different things that we must have. The one thing that we must have is a definable, repeatable pattern. So that means it needs to be measurable, it needs to have a timing window, it needs to be data driven, meaning that you are able to see over a long period of time that this pattern occurs with a certain expectancy. The next thing that we need to do is, once we've recognized this pattern, is to develop an entry criteria. So not only do we need confirmation, we need stop loss placement, we need confluence, we need a risk management profile. Where's our take profit going to be? Now we've got two key ingredients, but we're not there entirely. We then need a trade management criteria. This is not a necessity, but it's very useful in refining your edge. So the trade management criteria is: do I load up? Do I close early? Or do I trail stops? Once you've defined these things, you then go into backtest to develop your data set. You want to have, before you start trading, a probability, a number out of 100, a percentage that is going to give you a confident understanding that when this pattern occurs with my entry criteria and these confluences with this confirmation, I have a 50% chance of winning the trade. Without that level of detail to your trades, you should not be executing trades yet. You haven't got an edge, it's not well defined enough. Okay, so this is the preparation stage of trading. This stage is a completely different beast to the execution stage of trading. They are two completely different roles. They have completely different behaviors. They use completely different parts of your brain. They are two completely different people. This one is a scientist, a research-based scientist, where you are collecting data. You're an analyst, okay? Once you've got this edge, you then flip into an execution. Now, the execution is so important to understand that if you are now applying your edge, it's so important to step away from preparation mindset. You're no longer a data capturer. You're no longer a researcher. You are now an executioner. You're a robot in the factory doing, rinsing and repeating. Okay? So during this process, you're forward testing, you're executing, you get feedback on your wins and failures, you start to gather live data sets. So you might be a little bit interested in finding some more data sets to add to your edge, but in no way are you revising your edge. In no way are you changing the entry criteria. In no way are you changing any of these three definable things that were created for the edge. Because the minute you change that very important probabilistic number that you came out with, whether or not you've got an edge or not, changes instantly. If you've changed your profit to take profit to stop loss ratio, your risk to reward ratio, your edge is destroyed. So guys, when you are in this execution phase, the points to improve on are execution. Did I enter on time when I have my confirmation? Did I enter in my timing window? You're not changing any of these results. The reflection, the growth period that you're doing is how well am I executing on my edge. It's not about, is my edge good enough? It's not about these risk to reward things. It's how well am I actually able to apply the definitions, the criteria that I've defined to enter in. So the problem that most traders do is that in their execution, once they receive a failure, they adjust their edge. And so now they're not playing in a mathematical probabilities. They are playing on an intuition-based thing. Well, most likely if I change this, it seems like it's more likely. It's not data-driven. And again, so if you're not doing this game as a data analyst, then you're a gambler. You're taking a chance. You haven't got decided facts that are driving your decisions. So the most important thing in this execution phase is to recognize that you need to have a defined sample size to complete before you revise your strategy, before you revise your edge. So you need to decide whether 10 trades, 20 trades, 30 trades is what you're going to then take into your data set to then revise. Now, revising, guys, is such an important decision to make, because if you revise, you need to do your preparation stage all over again. So generally, the back tests that I do take several days to do a really detailed, articulate back test on your strategy. It's going to take hours and hours of your time to develop enough data points, whether it be 100 trades, 200 trades, 300 trades, to go back in the charts, to measure it up, to write that into Excel spreadsheet, to develop that data. It takes a hell of a lot of time. So you don't want to just be revising on the whim. You don't want to revise when you've just had a failure today and things didn't work out and there was a unique thing that you've seen, or maybe there's another pattern that you really want to jump in, so now you've added another entry model into your system without doing any back testing on it. The revision has to come when you've met your sample size. So, and the minute we've changed any of our edge criteria that we first developed, we've now have to create a new edge. And so what's so important to understand is that there's a serious issue that comes with most traders when they start. What will happen is that they will define an edge, but they will not be detailed enough about the entry criteria. They will not be detailed enough about what the measurable dynamics are of what they're entering in on. They will not be detailed enough about the timing window. And so they will write a rough edge. It'll be an edge that's loosely defined. Then when they start to execute, they're going to be super perplexed, because they're going to get confused. But what do I enter if this happens? Where do I put my stop when this happens? What happens if my stop is bigger than my risk to reward? You start encountering the volatility in the market and how that starts to really complicate some simple things. And so what ends up happening is that you end up perpetually going back to the preparation phase of your trading. And then you start mixing preparation and execution. You literally start trying to be in an execution stage whilst preparing. You might be gathering data on the fly, defining patterns in the moment and executing on them. As you're going to think, okay, let me just learn from my last mistake and apply it to my very next trade. You're going to completely sidestep the revision aspect of this process, and you're going to go all the way back. You're going to go straight into trading. So put simply, guys, the pain of your loss you are associating with the criteria of your edge, and you are trying to avoid that pain by changing the edge, because you're essentially associating the edge with the pain of loss. And that is why people keep jumping out of the execution phase back into preparation, because they feel like if they prepare enough, they can avoid any pain of loss. So I hope that this idea has given you guys a bunch of insight into the core problems you might be experiencing, as well as recognizing what the job of a trader is. Guys, trading is a super boring job. You know why? Because once your edge is defined, you are a robot in the market. You are just there to execute on your edge. You're not there to think. You're not there to prepare. You literally just execute, gather data, and wait until your next sample size is met. Which is actually a great thing, right? It's actually a really great thing that you don't have to be stressing about analyzing and spending hours and hours on the markets. If you cannot define the exact moments that you load up, the exact places that you bid your take profit, the exact things that you're going to do in the market, if you have not defined that, you're still learning, you're still preparing. Do not be in execution phase. Keep on those paper trading accounts until you're just absolutely sure, no matter what the conditions, no matter what the movements are, you know exactly what you're doing.